Namaskar. This is continuation of the lecture 9 in respect of business income. The other day we discussed inclusions in the business income as to what all could fall in the business income. We would now discuss the deductions towards expenses eligible in determining business income. You should broadly know that sections 30 to 36 deal with the specific expenses relating to business income determination. These sections which you see are dealing with specific deductions. By the name, the expenditure gets listed in sections 30 to 36, and those expenses which are listed by the name become eligible for deduction. Please understand, they are specific deduction. The purpose of the expense is mentioned in the section and the deduction in respect thereof. In some cases they have even mentioned the amount. So even in respect of these sections 30 to 36, we would be discussing only those sections which are relevant from your syllabus point of view, as to what all expenses your syllabus would allow. Your syllabus is concerning with a very few expense reduction. So we will be concerned with those expenses only. Sections 30 and 31 largely are very simple sections. Not much of an understanding would be necessary. As I told you, my intention behind these online sessions is to firstly make you understand even the most complex of the issues. In income tax, everything is complex. It's a different question. Whatever issue I would seek to discuss with you, I would ensure that I make you understand. Therefore, I go very slow. 30 and 31 which you see are very simple. 30 deals with, as you have also been doing in your final accounts, you always have an item appearing in the trial balance as rent, rates, taxes. This is largely an item appearing in all trial balances. Rent, rates and taxes. And then you have repairs, and then you have insurance. 3 expenses separately appearing. So those expenses which are appearing in the trial balance, you claim as deduction. Let us come to the income tax part of it. Section 30, as I have told you, whenever you claim a deduction towards an expense, it has to be specifically allowed by a section, by a proviso. If there is no specific proviso existing in respect of an expense which you have incurred and therefore claimed, if there is no specific proviso or section appearing, that doesn't mean that expense will not be eligible as deduction. No. Sections 30 to 36 deal with the specific expense, name, purpose of the expense is considered for granting this deduction towards expenses. In the next class, sometime later rather, I will discuss with you section 37, which is a hugely litigated section in income tax. Section 37. As I told you, this is the most litigated head, business income. And even in the business income head, section 37 is a hugely litigated head of expense that deals with general deductions towards business, expenses incurred towards business which are not appearing in sections 30 to 36, but they are incurred in the business. They are necessary for the purposes of business. I will discuss that a little later in 37. And since those expenses which you have incurred don't find a mention between 30 to 36 sections, but it is important for the purpose of business, it is necessary for the purpose of business, it is related to the business, then 37 will be allowing that expense. 37 is a different code in itself for allowing an expense, which we will discuss later. Before I go to 30, I will also discuss with you section 40, a brief idea I will give you, which I will, and I will have a detailed discussion. We will have a detailed discussion on 40 a little later after 37. 40 deals with expenses which are otherwise allowed, but there are restrictions imposed. Rather, you can understand 40 deals with conditions for allowing certain expenses. It is basically dealing with disallowances. Certain expenses will not be allowed as a deduction if it does not meet the conditions enshrined in section 40. We will discuss those little later. So, to give you a brief idea, as far as expense deduction is concerned, expense deduction in determining business income is concerned, sections 30 to 36 deal with expenses, specific expenses, by the name, by the purpose the expense gets allowed as a deduction. 37 deals with general expenses or general deduction for the purposes of business, expenses incurred for the purpose of business. 30 to 36 and then 37, and then we have section 40. 40 deals with those expenses which will not be allowed as a deduction in determining business income, though those expenses may be otherwise allowed in 30 to 36 or even by 37. Specific disallowability of expense occurs in section 40. So, to summarize in one sentence, 30 to 36 deal with specific expense, purpose, nature is given in the sections, deduction will be eligible, will be available. 37 general expenses, the expenditure name is not given, but if it meets conditions of 37 it will be allowed. 40 largely deals with disallowable expenses, though expenses may be otherwise allowed by sections 30 to 36 or by 37, but if it doesn't meet the conditions of 40, those expenses will be disallowed. 40 is an overriding section. You need to now understand these technical terms. 40 is an overriding section. It overrides sections 30 to 37. It starts in technical parlance, such overriding sections are known as non-obstant sections. Sections having non-obstant clauses. Notwithstanding is the terminology which is used in a non-obstant section. I will discuss that when I do section 40. So coming back, 30 deals with rent, rates, taxes. 3 items with which you are familiar. Fourth expenses, second expense, repair, and third expense, insurance. For the premises, I am emphatic, 30 deals with expenses in relation to the premises. Which expenses? Rent, rate, taxes, repairs and insurance. Now if you are occupying a tenancy premises, so you will pay rent would be allowed, and you will also pay at times repair expenses, routine repairs, minor repairs. You will repair yourself. You are a tenant, you will not ask the owner to do it. Minor repair you will do it, but you will not be paying for the insurance premium. Insurance premium is paid by the owner. So if you are occupying premises on tenancy basis, you are allowed 2 expenses. Which are those? Rent, obviously, and cost of repairs. Taxes in respect of the tenancy premises are generally borne by the owner, but if they are borne by you, you will also be allowed the deduction towards expenses of rates and taxes. Now if you are occupying certain premises otherwise than as a tenant, let us say as an owner, so then you will be allowed the expenditure. Obviously you will not pay rent, you are the owner. You will be allowed the expenditure for current repairs. This is important. Now there are several judgments dealing with current repairs as to what constitutes current repairs. How current repairs are those repairs which should result into benefit immediately and not benefit which is long drawn out over few years. Those expenses will not be then considered to be current repairs. Please understand, current repairs on the ownership premises other than tenancy premises get allowed to you as deduction in determining your business income. And then you have towards premises, you might pay land revenue, local taxes, municipal taxes. It is known by various names, but it is municipal tax. Local tax, land revenue, municipal tax mean the same thing. So whatever expenses you incur towards local taxes, municipal taxes will be allowed to you as deduction, and obviously the owner will pay these expenses. And then you have owner paying or subscribing to the insurance policy. Now insurance premium that you pay towards the risk of damage or destruction to the property, the premium that you pay to cover those risks of damage or destruction would be eligible to you as deduction. Obviously taxes, municipal tax and insurance premium will be paid by the owner only. Please understand, 30 deals with premises related expenses. Of course, I should tell you that when you are solving a problem in the examination, it is better if you write the expense, the section. If you recall the section clearly and if you write it, it is better that you reproduce that. If you don't recall the section, generally students find it difficult to recall the section number. So if you are confused, don't worry, don't mention the section number. That doesn't lead you to any harm, not a problem at all. But if you can remember you can easily write it. Not that marks will be deducted for not writing the section, but still, advisably, if you remember and you are confident, please write it. Don't worry otherwise. Come to 31. Related to premises, the expenses that we have discussed above, we will be concerned with those expenses in connection with the machinery, plant or furniture, another fixed assets. You can see in respect of repairs and insurance of machine, plant or furniture which you are using for the purpose of business, following deductions will be allowed. Again, they are using the term current repairs. Please understand, current repairs are meant to subsist for a period less than a year. The expenditure on repair would give you benefit for a period which is less than a year. If it were to be for more than a year, it will not be considered to be current repair. And if the expenditure which you incur doesn't qualify to be current repair, 31 will not allow that. Section 31 will not allow that expenditure. So what I am trying to state is if the expenditure should be incurred on current repairs, and there are judgments which define and decide current repairs. So just understand the crux of those judgment is the crux is that they should be resulting into benefit to the assessee, to the company or to the assessee, to the business for a short term period. Then current repairs towards expenditure on current repairs towards machine, plant, furniture is allowed. Likewise, you have premium paid on insurance policies. Again, same risks, damage or destruction to the property. Earlier, damage or destruction to the machine, plant or furniture. In this case, premium that you pay will be allowed as deduction. Before I go to the next slide, I should also discuss with you something very important. As students of accounts, you are aware, you have done the classification of expenses. You are aware, revenue expense, capital expense and deferred revenue expenditure. Income tax recognizes only the first two kinds of expenses, revenue or capital expenditure. It doesn't recognize deferred revenue expenditure. You are aware, a deferred revenue expenditure is basically a revenue expenditure only. It is a revenue expenditure. It has all the ingredients of a revenue expenditure. It is not a capital expenditure, but it results into benefits for a little longer period, little longer than a year, maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It results into benefit for a longer period. So for accounts purposes, you may have classification of expenses into 3 categories that you know of: revenue, capital and deferred revenue. But for income tax purposes, you have to forget deferred revenue expenditure. You have only to concern yourself with revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. Revenue expenditure, as you know, is generally debited to the profit and loss account. Capital expenditure is taken to the balance sheet. This distinction has to always to be maintained. Now, section 32. This is a very, very important section. 32. I may not be able to finish it in this half an hour or 35-minute session. I will extend, do not worry. Depreciation is something which all commerce students are aware. Whenever you are solving a final account problem, you always have invariably an adjustment of depreciation. I did not explain depreciation to you, but for income tax purposes, depreciation has a far different connotation and understanding than what you have for the purposes of making accounts. You are aware, you have been solving depreciation adjustments while making final accounts. Income tax treatment may not always be the same as that you accord to depreciation when you are solving final account problems. So, simply put, adjustment of depreciation in accounts and adjustment of depreciation in income tax may usually differ. They may be poles apart. Here you will learn something which possibly you may not have known, you may not have even thought earlier, but that's what the income tax section 32 recommends. The other day we discussed see the clause 2. Okay, before I come to clause 2, let me discuss clause 1. Depreciation in respect of building, machine, plant or furniture. Depreciation on building, machine, plant or furniture. These are the tangible assets. Of course, you also have vessels, ships, ocean going ships, which is not a part of your syllabus, therefore I haven't included here. So for the purposes of tangible assets, you consider building, machinery, plant and machinery is one classification for income tax purposes, and furniture. These are three classifications of assets, of tangible assets: building, plant and machine, furniture, and the fourth is ship in respect of tangible assets, which I have not discussed here, which I have not included here. You are aware, ships are known as vessels in terminology of shipping industry. Vessels. Ships have a different depreciation rate. We will restrict ourselves to the three tangible assets: building, furniture and fittings, and the residual category plant and machine. We will take illustrations based on that. In building, of course, at your level you don't have any complexity. In building, you will have different rates of depreciation in respect of different categories of building. For example, school building, cinema hall, they have a higher depreciation rate. Office building, lower depreciation rate. Temporary structures, higher depreciation rate, 100% maybe. Those details are not warranted by your syllabus. Furniture and fixtures, general rate, and then you have specific rate, and then you have plant and machine, the residual category. Any fixed asset which doesn't fall in the meaning of building or furniture and fixtures will fall under the residual category plant and machine. Then we have the intangible assets. If you recall, we have discussed subclause 2. The earlier slide which you may have will show this. Subclause 2 of clause 5A of section 28. Non-compete agreements. We referred to know-how, patents, copyrights, trademarks, licenses, franchise, or any other business or commercial rights of similar nature. Intangible assets. They have given these categories of intangible assets, but they also add, please understand, that list of intangible asset is illustrative, is giving you examples. Why do I say that? Because they have stated know-how, patents, copyrights, trademarks, licenses, franchises. 6 items they have stated. But then they also state any other business or commercial rights of similar nature. Similar nature meaning the nature of the business or commercial right which is similar to know-how, patents, copyrights, trademarks, licenses, franchises. You may have certain rights. You may have certain business rights, commercial rights, and those rights are similar to these know-how, patents, copyright, trademark, license, franchises. So, if you have paid a cost for those business or commercial rights having similar nature to these, it will also qualify to be intangible asset. Best example, what is missing here is information. Let us say if you when you go to the mall, you unknowingly fill up certain forms given by the shops there or the stores there. Please fill up the form. They entice you, form Bardo, and you fill it. You will get a gift, you will get a coupon, whatever it is, and you fill it. They make several such customers fill the form. They are collecting data. The data which they collect is compiled, and that compiled data is sold. There are companies which are in the business of merely selling data. They will compile, they will sort out the data by their own criterion and then sell the data. So they may have a right over that data, which they will not be, you cannot use that data. You cannot use the data which they have. You have to pay for it. So they have the right to use that data, business or commercial right over that data. That's an intangible asset. So coming back, tangible assets are to be depreciated. Intangible assets are also to be depreciated. Generally, intangible assets, all these intangible assets have one fixed rate, 25%. I think at your level you will never be asked depreciation on intangible assets, but then you should know this. I will discuss block of assets when I will get back to this building, plant and machine and furniture. To be able to claim depreciation on tangible or intangible assets, to be able to claim depreciation, there are two conditions which the assessee has to satisfy. Unless you satisfy those two conditions simultaneously, you cannot claim depreciation. One is ownership, whether partly or wholly, that is not important. You may own certain assets in part. You may own certain assets wholly. Generally, we have cases of wholly owning. Wholly ownership of assets, whole ownership of assets, full ownership of assets. There is generally no instance of part ownership. But then we have at certain times, certain industries may not be able to own certain fixed assets only. They may be costly, or for other reasons also. Two industries or two companies, three companies in a locality may come together and install an asset which may be individual, not be owned by them wholly, individually. They may be held, each of them may hold it partly. Best example is your air pollution control equipment plant. So certain companies will come together and install an air pollution control unit at a convenient location, and then contribute towards the expense of that, purchase of that, installation of that, and then then partly own it for the purposes of business. 2 hours in a day company A would use, 2 hours in a day company B would use, and 2 hours in a day company C would use, and so on. Two conditions: ownership, wholly or partly, and use for the purpose of business. That's very important. You should be using that asset for the purposes of business. Ownership and use. If you don't use the asset, then it is not, depreciation is not allowed. Of course, as I told you, income tax, when there is nothing simple. When the concept of block of asset got introduced, of course that may not make much of a meaning for you, but it will certainly help you in your professional exams. Your syllabus will not pose a question of this kind. Courts have held that use will include the ready for use also of an asset. Keeping an asset ready for use is the equivalent of use. Just to illustrate, I am going a little off the subject of the syllabus, rather related to the subject but of the syllabus. You may, let us say, you may be an export oriented unit, just to give you a small simple illustration, or you may be catering to defense, Indian Army defense, where you have to be specific about the timings, otherwise it may entail a cost to the nation. The nation may suffer. So when you are supplying to the Indian Army, you have to also maintain the quality and the time. Same is the case with exports. So you are having a machinery which is a very important machinery. If that machine is rendered non-functional for whatever reason, you will suffer. The production cannot take place. So what you do is that there are other machines also, but one important machine, you keep another new machine, brand new machine, always ready for use. If the first machine, which is an important machine, does not function for a few days, you will suffer. So to prevent that loss, you keep a machine ready for use for the purpose of business, for the purpose of manufacture. The department always says, this is not used for the purpose of business. The second machine which you have kept ready in case of an eventuality, in case of a difficulty, in case of the first machine breaking down, you will use the second machine because you want to ensure continuity in production. So therefore, the department will always say, no, this machine is not used for the purpose of business. Condition for allowing depreciation is use. You are not using the second machine. Courts have come to the rescue of the assessees. Courts have said, use will also mean ready for use. So if you have kept a machine ready for use, you will still be eligible to the depreciation on that machine. In respect of the assets acquired during the year, put to use for the purpose of business is important. You are purchasing an asset during the year, a machine during the year, a car during the year. So you should use it for the purpose of business. If you use it for the purpose of business, then the depreciation will be allowed in that respect. I will discuss this issue at length in the next class. Thank you very much.